have a situation I don't really want to tell you about, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I remember this particular time I had a situation occur. I'm walking through a parking lot, and someone with a vehicle honks at me and like blows by me as I'm walking through the sidewalk. And I'm a little, in that moment, arrogant. Have you been trying to figure out how to stand out in the crowd? How to be seen for who you are? How to get people to respect you for being you? Are you sick and tired of acting like everybody else? Trying to keep up with the trends when you have your own unique style and way of being? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about personal branding, authenticity, and how to show up in this world and get the respect and honor that you deserve. So hang out with me, connect. Remember to share, save, comment, and like this. All right, diving in. The first thing I want to talk about is personal branding. Now, this whole world, at least in corporate America, where the guy on Amazon says, I want you, or personal branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. That's a fair definition of what people say about you when you're not in the room. However, I want to dive a little bit deeper. What do you say about you? See, that's where personal branding begins. And unfortunately, the description that was given to us by Bezos, what do people say about you when you're not in the room, is based on self-esteem, what others think about you and their impact with you. It's a correlation there because you're focusing on what you're trying to leave them versus self-value and self-worth about who you are. In order to have a great personal brand, in order to figure out what your personal brand is, I need you to do one thing. I need you to be willing to let go of what others say and who they say you're supposed to be. That's it. Start there. The question I love to ask my friends that's going to help you begin to unravel what's your personal brand, or the famous question I love to ask, who are you? No, who are you? What are your passions? What are your likes? What are your desires? What are your beliefs, and why do you believe it? Have you ever questioned that belief, and why do you still hold on to it? What would happen if you walked away from everything you know to be true? Who would you be? And the funny thing is, most people have never been asked that question. In our culture, what we tend to do is we tend to say, well, what do you do? Who are you? What do you do? And we'll say, I'm a mom. I'm a dad. I'm an construction engineer. I'm a civil engineer. I am a techie. I'm a blogger, or whatever that is. We identify with task, role, or responsibility. While all that's nice and good, I need you to understand that's not who you are. And if that's the existence that you identify with, then you have no idea what your personal brand is. Also, know this, it's okay. You're not the only person who experiences this, which is why we're talking about it here. Because growing up, maybe someone told you it wasn't okay to be you, or you were punished for being you, or you were told you have to do it this way, not that way. I was one of those parents. I was treated that way as well because I had a religious expectation around who I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do. But I noticed that I also had that for my son, and I had goals and things I wanted him to do. I wanted him to believe as I believe. I wanted him to behave as I behave. I wanted him to make me look good. Now, I know that doesn't sound good, but if you really strip it down, what I was trying to do is look good as a parent. Therefore, I needed him to behave in a certain way. Therefore, breaking his spirit. Trying to chisel down who he was born to be into who I need him to be, or I think would make me and his mother look good when we're out in society. And that's what happened. So we lost touch with that sense of who we are. As a matter of fact, I want to tell you this particular stat. Only 10 to 15% of people have a sense of their personal brand, or self-value, or self-awareness, who they really are. Nothing to do with the outside world. Only 10 to 15% of people actually have that. And only 5% live it. I didn't make this up. Those are stats. Harvard Business Review and some other companies out there have validated that that's the reality. But do you know what that actually means? That means that not only do you not know who you are, but 9 to 9.5% of the people that you walk by, 9 to 9.5 out of 10 people you walk by have no clue who they really are. Instead, they're what I do professionally. They're an actor. They're performing. They're acting according to a script given to them. And I'm not upset with you for that. Because if you think about it, if 95% of us have no clue, that means when you look around, almost everybody you know operates from that same space. And so it's not normal, it's not natural to do what's normal and do what's natural, and that's be who you are. Because there's a shunning, there's a societal or social pushback. You know, you'll get canceled in today's culture. All the crap that just makes it hard, especially when you've been out of practice and you've been in the practice of becoming or being something other than who you are. Crazy, right? Well, there's good news. There's good news because I want you to know that who you are is what we're missing on this planet. I need you to find out who you are. Your peers, your family, your partner, they need you to find out who you are. Because see, the gift inside of who you are is what's missing in your community, in your life, in your wealth, health, well-being, social, spiritual relationships, because you're not showing up. Crazy! But see, this is why we have to have this talk, because I need you to stop listing and looking outside or seeking that approval to find out who you are or to validate who you are. I need you to start going within. I'm going to tell you how to go within continually over these videos, because personal branding and who you are is something I want to begin to draw out of you. And it's not going to happen in one video, but I want to get it started. So the first question I want you to just sit and ponder with is, who am I? Who am I if all my bills were paid? Who am I if I could do anything I want to do in this world and I didn't have to do it for money? Who am I that when I die, this is what I want people to say about me and not, he was a good father? I mean, I understand that if you didn't have a good father, and so you value that. But that's not the spirit that came to this planet. Who's the spirit that came to this planet? What's the work that spirit, the spirit inside of you, came to this planet for? What are you here to heal? What are you here to explore? What are you here to expand? That's what we're looking for. That's going to begin the deep dive into discovering who you are. The second thing I need you to do is I need you to start embracing authenticity. Yeah, it's a little bit hard when you don't know who you are to embrace authenticity because you're so used to performing. I got it. It's not easy. But I need you to know something. When you're not authentic, everybody knows. You see, I'm a professional actor, and as a result of that, one of the things that I learned from my brother, who's a actor, writer, producer, award-winning, all over the world international film fest type of guy, is that he said, Marquise, you can never show up to an audition thirsty. He didn't mean water. He meant needing the role. He meant you can't show up desperate. But when we identify or self-identify outside of ourselves, we self-identify, meaning check in to see who we are, but we're doing it outside ourselves to validate, all we show is desperation. Anytime you are looking for that outside approval for the inside, you can only show up in desperation. Will you like me? Will you love me? Will you give back to me? Will you accept me? And in the world of social media likes and loves, that's become a big deal. I'm pretty sure you've noticed that. As a matter of fact, there are some societal or medical conditions, psychological conditions associated with that. So much so that they changed buttons around to try to minimize the impact from the psychological stance that we all have. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I still look to see how many likes, who liked it, and what can I do to boost it, because I'm trying to grow that. But if I at any point began to identify who I am based on either one, the number of followers I have or who stopped following me, or number two, how many likes I have or who didn't comment, or number three, if no one commented at all, or somebody I respect didn't comment, then I lose myself. When you embrace your authentic self, that means you're going to show up present. Notice I use the word present. Because too often and too common, people say, well, I want to keep it real. This is how I feel. Well, I need you to know something. How you feel has nothing to do with keeping it real. Because far too often when we try to be authentic, we are thinking about our emotional state. And our emotional state has nothing to do with authenticity. I'll repeat that. Your emotional state has nothing to do with being authentic. Because oftentimes we respond from a false sense of our emotional state. What do you mean, Marquise? Well, I may be sad and angry, right? But I'm angry and sad because I didn't get my way. So that emotional state that I'm feeling isn't really who I am. It's a response to a condition. And so you say, Marquise, well, what do you mean? How do you keep it real in that instance then? Well, if I'm not getting what I want, being authentic means, hey, I feel rejected and lost in the moment because I didn't get what I want. And that's it. That's it. Acknowledging it for what it is, not responding out of anger, pride, or trying to prove who I am or trying to keep it real. Because that's all pretend world. That's all falsifying the authentic state that I find myself in. And that, my friends, is what crushes your credibility in this world, crushes your ability to influence other people, because we're now responding from something that isn't a true reflection of what's actually going on the inside. I don't feel love. I feel put aside. Those are the kinds of things of what I'm talking about when you're talking about being authentic. And in order to be authentic, there's a couple things you got to do. One, you got to get to know who you are. Let's start there. You got to get to know your weaknesses, get to know your strengths, and get to know your triggers. So that when they show up, you still might be triggered. Oh, I still get triggered from time to time. I'm pretty even killed now, but oh no, it can still happen. The difference is that when it happens now, I'm more quickly able to go, hey, wait a minute. Here's what's happening inside. True story. I messed up. I'm so sorry. I have a situation I don't really want to tell you about, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I remember this particular time I had a situation occur. I'm walking through a parking lot and someone with a vehicle honks at me and like blows by me as I'm walking through the sidewalk. And I'm a little, in that moment, arrogant. I was on the phone talking to someone thinking I was cool or whatever was on my mind at that time. And I was really frustrated that this person tried to run me over. That's not fair. They were disrespectful to me being a pedestrian walking through a parking lot. And I felt offended. Now, it doesn't even matter what was going on in their world, right? Because obviously something was. That's not what was happening inside of my head. That rational brain was not operating. Instead, that survival brain was operating. And I thought to myself, you got to be kidding me.